Right guys, so today's job is the removal of the driver's side seat. As you can see, it's a bit manky. It's got a bit damp in the past, hence why all the car's all fogged up inside. Again, it's another bitterly cold day. As I said in my last video, I can't wait for it to get a bit warmer. As you can see, there's snow and ice and all sorts everywhere. It's just not nice at all. But yeah, basically taking the seat out today so that I can get the standard slider, you know, the sliding arm and all that lot off, so I can custom make some sliding seat rails for my aftermarket bucket seats to go in. Because as far as I'm aware, there's a few places say that they stock a custom seat rails for the Corollas, but in fact there's a few people have bought them, ordered them, got them turned up and found out that they don't fit. All to do with the way that they mount at the back end here. So just slide it forward. Not so much this side, but on that side there, because it's got a weird, like a bit of a cantilever type thingy set up on it. So yeah, basically all it is, there's a bolt under there, a bolt under there, there's one here at the front, and one sort of down there at the front on that side. So it's literally 4 bolts and a plug to undo, and that's about it. It's really simple. So yeah, let's I'll crack on with that in a minute and I'll show you just how easy it is. It's always easiest to go around and slacken off all the bolts first before you fully start. So your first bolt is, can I do this with my hand again? There's that one there. So you just stick your ratchet on there. These are 14mm. I've already just slackened it off just a touch so that you can undo those. Same with the one over here, exactly the same again. Slacken it off. In fact, I'm going to take that one right out. Saves me reaching over later on. There we go. That's that one out. Back to this one, I'll take that one out as well. There you go, there's 2 bolts out, dead easy. And then what you want to do is slide your seat forwards so you can access these. Now your bolts are actually under these plastic covers, so in order to get them off, just get a good hold of it and they just twist away. A bit of brute force, there you go, and off they pop. Same with the one at the back. Pull that bit down and away, dead easy. And then, because these are more in depth, you can't really get a spanner on these. You can, but only just. You end up scuffing all this paintwork here up. And on here, I'll try and show you, you've pretty much no movement, and you actually can't get the ratchet on there. So what I've got, you've seen it in my other videos I'm sure, is my impact driver. It's probably one of the best investments I've ever made. It wasn't the cheapest. It does 900 newton meters of torque, which is absolutely phenomenal. But when you want to undo a bolt, these haven't even been pre-loosened and it's out dead easy. Same with this one down here. No messing. Just makes life that little bit more easy. So once you've undone all those 4 bolts, next thing you'll notice is your seat should be loose. Just put a rocket, and that's it basically. You've just got to lift it up. Kind of tricky with one hand whilst holding a camera in the other. As simple as that. Lift it up, tip it out the way, and then underneath here you've got this socket here that needs to be unclipped, and that yellow socket there is for your airbag, I think. The vast majority of the plugs for airbags are yellow, so you just go about undoing them. Now this plug here, you just got that tab, so you push that tab in so it pulls up, and pulls away. With this one, with your airbag, you've actually got to slide that. It doesn't push in. You got to slide it and then pull the plug away, and that's it. It's as simple as that. The entire seat is now loose, so you can take the whole thing out. Dead easy. 4 bolts, 2 clips, simple. And that's the chair out. Dead easy. If you're anything like me and you lose your bolts, easiest thing to do, just stick them back, only loose, just so you know exactly where they are for future reference. Stick them back in there. There you go, dead easy. And obviously, like with the steering wheel, you're gonna have issues with your airbag again, with the warning lights on the dash. So I'll get into doing another resistor thingy with this one once I get round to it. And I think with this one, you've got your seat belt warning and all that sort of stuff is plugged into here. So we'll figure out all that lot later on down the line when we get to it, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, next thing, I'll be in the garage. I'll be showing you how to strip down the seat, and how to make some custom rails that fit to your standard rails, if you know what I mean. It'll all become clear. Right, so there you have it. That's the underside of the seat. Dead basic. The way your seat works, obviously this is upside down now, so I'm pushing down. But as you're sat in the seat, you'd pull that lever up, and as you pull that lever up, these 3 little teeth here, they get pulled in. So when they get pulled in, it allows this entire rail here to slide forwards and backwards, hence giving you forwards and backwards motion on your seat. And a lot of people have issues with the Corolla seats in terms of this sliding mechanism stops, it'll break on one side and the other side will still keep working. That's mainly to do with the fact that inside there, it's very tricky to see with the camera anyway. You see that little orange piece inside there? As you push the steering down, there's a little metal pin that goes through the rail. You can actually just see the pin there, and as you push down on that arm, it pushes on the mechanism, which pushes these down. Sometimes, in my case, which it has done on this one, that orange bit is actually loose. It's not supposed to be loose, it's supposed to be inside its own little castellation. I can show you that on here, because I feel like Blue Peter this. Here's one I made earlier. This slot here, that's where that orange grommet is supposed to sit inside. So when you pull the lever, it pushes this spring up, which pulls them teeth in and out of the way, which allows this rail to slide. And also you've got, again, this is one I did earlier, the little pegs that are through these gaps, through here, they snap off, which completely gives you absolutely no way for your sliding mechanism to work on your seat. So I'll show you how to put those screws in there later on as well, because I just think once you upgrade to the bolt system like I've got on mine there, it just makes your seats just that little bit stronger and more durable, because the pegs that are on these are really quite flimsy. So I mean, you can see it just there. If I put my light on, I don't know how you do that. But yeah, there's a peg in there anyway. That's that peg I'm on about in there. I've managed to turn my light on, so you can just see it's a really flimsy little pin. This is it on the other side. You can see that orange thing that should actually be inside that gap, but it's come loose. So this was ready. This side was ready. Right. So the quickest way you want to do this on your adjustment sides, you want to just peg it all the way up so your seat's at its highest position. It gives you more access to all this gubbins around here. The same on this side. Just gives you a better ease of access. As you can see, the only thing that's holding the seat to the rails are these bars. So you've got one bar there. There's quite a biggish bar here to this pin. That pin on this side is holding the support spring, and again another bar there. So what you want to either do is you want to either cut through them bars, or do what I did on my last seat. You're gonna have to remove all this anyway. Just centre pop that little pin there and drill the rivets out basically. And that's how I did it on the last one. Just a word of warning, as soon as you've drilled them out, you're pretty much writing your seat off, so it'll never be able to go back in your car again. So if you're thinking this is a reversible option, it can be reversible, but only if you get some replacement bolts that go through there. But they're not just your standard type of bolt. They're like a, because if you tighten them up too much, it clamps this frame and it become really stiff then. So just a word of warning that this is writing off your seat basically, so it will not go back in. In order to get these covers off, you've got a clip here. You need to remove that little panel there, which allows this main cover part to come off here. And there's a screw in the back of there, which is a Phillips posi drive. And then you also want to, there's a way of pinging this cover off here so that you can remove this too. To be honest, I think the last time I did it, I just cut everything off because it was never going back in the car anyway, so I just got rid of it all. So, right, I'll show you this once it's off. Right, so basically that's one of the holes drilled out. As you can see, it's now loose from the frame, and that is all that's holding your rails to your seat. So you'll drill that out. I'm now going to drill that one out as well, and then all of this black frame here will lift away from the seat, and then you do the same for the other side. Right, so I've now got this one drilled out as well as this one at this end. So that just lifts up, and that just lifts off there too. But you've also got cables and little bits and pieces attached, so you just need to unclip those. It's dead simple, they just unclip, and that's about it. You lift them all off, and you'll end up with two separate frames, and then this bit completely separate. But I'll show you that in just a sec. Right, so that's it. That's that one side of the framework off. You've got this central piece here. It's just this plastic lug holds it on at both ends, so it just if I can do it with one hand again, just pull it and it should just pop out. Again, it's tricky with one hand, I need two hands for everything. But yeah, that'll just pull out of there, and then you get this frame just on its own. So there you go, it just pulls out of there, short tug, and it pops out. But as you can see, that orange grommet has actually stuck to this pip instead. It should be stuck inside that hole under there, which it isn't. So this was destined to fail at some point soon anyway. But as you can see, they're only really thin pips. This one's already started to rub a little bit. So what happens is these pins snap off, and once these snap off, you have absolutely no motion left in your seats whatsoever. Apart from obviously your up and down bits, but you want it to slide forwards and backwards for your leg length adjustment more than anything. So yeah, so there you go. So repeat the same on the other side. So that bit there is actually a pin, and that pin there, drill them from the other side, take that off, and then you've got your two separate seat rails. Side of your seat rail, I've spun it around now. This is where your seatbelt attachment is. So obviously another 14mm nut, and the cable that runs across, it's just cable tied on, so it's not a big issue. But just to get it out of the way, because when you're drilling this, when you lift it off, you're still going to have this and cables attached, and it's easy to do it whilst it's still somewhat solid until it's all flopping about. So a couple of knackers on there, job's a good one. Flick it off, and again, keep your nuts, because you never know if you're going to need them or not. Right, so same done on the other side. You got that hole drilled out, that hole drilled out, and it should just, with a couple of wiggles, come away. Now it won't stand up on the stool. So yeah, there's one more little plug on this side. Ping that off. Can't do it again with one hand. But yeah, ping that off and then you've got another free slider. Right, so now what you should be left with is just a bare seat, no runners on it. And this is what your runners should be looking like. They're just basic runners, dead easy to customise to get your rubbers to fit on if you've got access to a welder. If you don't have access to a welder, there are other ways in which you can do it. You can use nuts and bolts. Basically you've got these holes here, your original hole work. So you can cut some metal framework that will fit into these. You can just use metal tabs, blah blah blah. But as you can see on the one I made earlier, wherever I put it, here we go. I made a full-blown piece of metal plate that basically attaches to your original framework, and welded that to it. And these are your bolt pickup holes that go onto your bolt side pickup holes there on the side of your bucket seat. So yeah, that's about it. As easy as that to take them off. It's probably took me from taking the seat out of the car to drilling them off, I don't know, half an hour at most. So yeah, it's quite a quick and easy job. But like I say, the actual doing this to your car seat, it's making your seat useless again. You can't really put it back in unless you start replacing your original holes where them rivets were with bolts. But it's not ideal, but it can be done if needs must. But for what these seats are worth second hand, you might as well buy a new set and replace the ones that you've got if you want to go back to standard later on down the line, which for me it's going as being a track car, so I'm not really too fussed. This thing is a little electric cart that I'm making for my lad. Nowhere near finished yet, but that's next on the cards, in between cars and this, and trying to get other things sorted out as well. Headlights up there for me Supra. It's a very, very busy garage at the moment, but hopefully we'll get a few projects finished. So watch this space and I'll show you how to make basically that metal framework to go in here. I'll hopefully try and stick a few measurements up for you guys, but there's pretty simple ways of doing it, and it's pretty straightforward. Right, so the next thing you want to do is one of your sliders here. It's still got a load of gubbins on it for seat catches and blah blah blah. I don't need them, so they're going to be coming off. This long metal piece here is really easy to take off. You've just got these two metal tabs, so you just need to get your screwdriver. I'll show you on this one, it's already up a bit. Underneath that tab there, and just lift that up underneath that tab there, and lift that up, and that bit slides out. I don't need it, so it's all going in the bin for me. I'll just get my little toffee hammer back out now and just tap them back in. Now on the other side you've got, if I can get it in the vise again, there's that rivet and that rivet, so both of those need to come out. Just clamp it there and then I don't bash the camera. Now with these two pins you've got basically two options. You can either angle grind it with a flapper disc or an angle grinding disc, it doesn't really matter, and you can cut the tops off the rivets and then tap them through. But with this one here, because of the proximity of this spring, if you slip and you catch your spring, you can damage your spring, and then even when you've made your new custom mounts for your new bucket seats, if that spring's not there, it won't work properly. So yeah, I always opt for a drill. If you can drill it, drill it. If not, get the grinder on it. Once they're out, you can get rid of this, and then you can make a contour of this shape as to what metal you're going to need to cut out. Right, so that's it. you got the pins out. This unit, just discard it, I don't need it anymore, so it's going in the bin for me. So you should just be left with your basic seat rails, and that's it. Repeat the same on the other side. So you've got this one, you're going to take those two pins out, and this channel thing here, which this is, I don't know, I can't remember what it's for now on the car, but it's like a bit of a channel. It's just a couple of clips in it, you ping them off, and it, again, same thing, that just comes away. I don't need it, so it's all coming off. I just want to be left with the bare seat frames, with nothing else on them. So I'll get on with that, and then I'll show you the finished product. Right, so repeated the process on the other side. That's all the things taken off there. Took me about 5 minutes. As long as you've got a good, nice, good sharp drill bit, you should be laughing. And that's about it for now. You should have your two standard runners. Basically what we're going to do in the next clip will be, I've got a piece of plate steel here. This is 3mm thick plate steel, and you're basically going to cut it to the same length as your slider, so from end to end, which is probably about 2 inches too long at this side, and then you're going to offer it up underneath like that, and you're going to draw an outline of this template all the way around there. But where you get to this end, it's actually going to go down and inside this. You can see the V's, so down and inside of there, and this hole here, it can go down with a little peg around the inside of there, so that you can get something inside of your rail. You don't have to get it inside, but it just makes it a little bit stronger when you come to weld it. And that's about it for now. Right, next task is to cut this sheet steel to length. Obviously where that black line is there, that's where I want to be cutting it off. You can either use a hacksaw for this, or if you've got an angle grinder, I've got a little battery one, but that's obviously a sanding disc on it, but you can get fine cutting discs. So if you've got an angle grinder, you can use that to score your line, cut it off. You can have use your hacksaw, but in my case, I've splashed out a while ago. I bought myself a plasma cutter. Obviously plasma cutting, it makes this job so much quicker and easier, so that's what I use for cutting all my steel at the moment. I've spent years and years in the garage cutting steel in the past, and I've just decided, right, enough's enough, and I've splashed out and bought one. So let's crack on and get these bits of metal cut. Just turn the unit on. I'm going to switch the plug on the wall. There we go. I just use a little piece of wood like that just to hold a straight edge, and then it's just a case of pulling the trigger and away you go. Maybe a little bit too quick there, it's not quite fully cut through, but you get a pair of pliers, you can normally just break it off. And that's it, it's as simple as that with a plasma cutter. What would have took you half an hour there with a hacksaw took me about, what, 10 seconds with a plasma cutter. So it just makes things that little bit much more quicker. Now that that's been cut, you can see all that's left is on the ends here, a little bit of what's called slag. It's just the excess molten metal that didn't get fully blown away by the compressed air. All you got to do with it is just tap it, as you can see, it just comes away. So it makes my life a lot easier for doing little jobs like this. But you can, like I say, you can do it with an angle grinder or a hacksaw, but it'll just take you a hell of a lot longer. I've even used a hacksaw blade in the old, you know, the reciprocating saws, a bit like a jigsaw, but the vertical one. So yeah, dead easy. As you can see, Another bitterly cold day in the garage, so I'll see how far I can get before I get too cold. Right guys, so now that you've cut your plate steel to shape, you can see that your standard runners, they're basically just pressed together plate steel. So this part here, you can see this bit's almost enclosed, whereas you've got an open part here on this raised up bit. Let me move that because it's reflecting. So you've got this raised up bit, it's open, then it's all enclosed all the way down to when you get to the back of the seat, and then again you've got another groove there. So what you want to do is you want to get your plate steel, and you want some section of this to be fitting inside there. You don't have to, you can just weld it straight to, but it just makes it that little bit easier to slot it all together when you do come to weld it. So your plate metal here, obviously you've got a nice flat edge down here, so you want to offer your metal up to there and hold it in that position and trace around it. I'll show you what that looks like in just 2 ticks. So you should be able to get a bit of a silhouette of the shape of your standard runner like that. So the next thing you're going to want to do is get your runner, offer it back up to your traced marks like that, and you're going to want to mark out the holes. So if you put that one in there, that one into there, you can see it. There we go. So now you've got those 2 holes marked. So you've got that one there and that one there. Those are the points in which you want your steel to go inwards. So where this castellation is, instead of cutting around there, you want to do almost a mirror image of that, so it'll go in like that. And then the same on here, you've actually got quite a big groove in there. It's straight down, and there's this little peg here goes right the way through the thing, so you just want to make like a nice square peg coming down from that tip. So from there straight down, and then go straight across. Make sure you're not going too far so it catches on that peg, and then straight back up again like that. So the area in which you're going to cut is going to be this black hashed out lines area. Like that. I'll get that plasma cut now, and then you can see it finished. Because I put the earth on, won't it? And there you have it, as easy as that. Right, so that's that cut. So the standard mount looks like that. This should now slots inside of there like that. Obviously it's not 100% because I still need to just trim these edges because I cut them by hand with a plasma cutter. It's not the crispest of edges. If it was CNC cut, it'd be a lot better, which
one day if I decide to splash out a bit of money and buy one, then brilliant, but at the moment it's not looking great because they're about 2.5 to 3.5 grand for a basic one, and I'm not quite prepared to spend that sort of money on one yet. But yeah, I'll get this cleaned up and then you'll see just how snugly it should fit to the profile of this. Right, so just with a little bit of a clean up, bit of a deburr, a little bit of a fettle around some of the edges, it should now look something like this. If I can do it in one hand, there we go, in it goes. So as you can see, it's fits inside there nice and snug. It's cut to the contours of that plate, and you can see where the holes were, there's actually material inside those holes. And what you'll do with that is you do a plug weld, basically to just fill from the metal, this metal plate, fill the hole out, and it just gives you a nice starting point with your welding. Once you've got that in place, you'll then weld in sections around it. You don't need to do a full-blown weld, but you need to do maybe 1 inch, leave a gap, an inch, leave a gap, an inch, leave a gap, so on and so on. But you're going to need to do it on both sides, because obviously this is just pressed steel, so if you just weld it to one side and if you have an accident it could just peel away. So if you weld that metal plate to both sides, it holds it all together, makes it all nice and snug. So basically what you need to do now is the exact same thing again for the other side, both seat rails. So this is the other seat rail. Let's move that one out of the way a sec. So this is the other side. That I've still got this plastic cap on the end here. Take that cap off and they're both exactly the same. So you need to make 2 of these. And there you go. I'll show you the next step in just a minute. Right, so next thing you're going to want to do is clean up these edges with a file or some sandpaper or whatever, so you can get to bare metal, so that you can then start to think about welding this to your frame. I'm going to use an angle grinder because I've got it here, nice flappy disc in it, and just you're only just taking a bit of paint off just so that you can get down to the bare metal there, just so you can weld to it. Nice and simple task. Right, so there you have it. I've got bare metal all the way along the edge of there now, down the sides. Only just need a bit, all the way around, both sides. And then basically you're going to stand this upright as good as you can get it. I've just got a piece of wood here, it's got an hole in it. I'm just going to clamp that there to hold that end. And then you're going to put this piece of metal in, like so, and you're going to weld it so that it's, obviously if you've got the piece of metal, you don't want it to be cocked over, you want it to be as square as possible to the original pieces of metal. So obviously it's over like that, you see it's not going to fit, and then when you put your bolts through, it's going to start twisting all this when it pulls it back in and put unnecessary stress on everything. So you're going to want to get this as straight as possible when you weld it, and then when you go to put your seat in, everything's nice and square and true. So I'm just going to go ahead now, put a few spot welds on it, just to make sure it's all held in place properly, and then take it from there. Once it's spot welded, I then do like what I mentioned earlier about welding a few areas of it, but you're only going to be doing like little 1 inch runs. Any more than that, it's just a bit overkill really. As you saw from the original seat, you've only got those 2 little bits of metal holding everything in place. So all of this is probably 10 times stronger than what you actually need, but it's a pretty simple way of making some side mounts for your seats. Just remember, before you weld it into place, mark out your holes for your seat bolts before you weld it on, because then you can do 2 plates at the same time in the drill, and it means that you don't have to muck about with some cumbersome thing attached to it. You've got 2 nice flat plates that you can just offer straight up and drill them through at the same time. I'll crack on with that and then we'll then get on to the welding. Line the edges up so everything's nice and square. If you haven't got clamps, it doesn't really matter, you can do them individually, but having clamps just makes things that little bit easier, stops things from moving about when you don't want them to. Simple as that. And then get your drill. You can centre pop the holes just so that your guides give you a bit of a guide for when you're drilling. You don't have to. If you're pretty competent with a drill, you can drill pretty square in the middle. Stuff your drill up, obviously. Get it started in the centre, and then go for it. And there you have it. A hole. It's not exactly rocket science. These do eventually get opened up to, well, they're an 8mm bolt that go into my chair, but I'm going to make them up to a 10mm hole, so it gives you a little bit of clearance. And then you shouldn't have any issues with any alignment with it attaching to your seat. There you go, 2 holes, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Right, now let's get it welded. Right, like I said, make sure that you've got the edge as square as possible to where you need it to be. I've just lined that up by eye, it seems pretty good. About there. Just going to put a couple of spot welds on it, and then I'll do the rest of the welding later on. Before we carry on, make sure nothing's moved. Yeah, still seems pretty good. Probably got my amps a little bit too high, but it's not too bad. You get quite a lot of smoke off this because there's still a bit of paint on it. And there you have it, as easy as that. Once you've got a few welds on, you can take it off that plate, lay it down, and then you're probably going to do, with these holes you can fill the weld up, or you can just do a run of an inch, leave an inch, run of an inch, leave an inch, all the way around both sides, and that should be job done. And there you have it, a couple of welds just to hold it into place. They're not my best of welds, a bloody battery went on my automatic helmet, so I did half of these with my eyes shut. But yeah, so like I say, both sides. This side I've not cleaned up yet, but that side it's all wire brushed, a couple of bits of spatter on there, but I can't really help that, it's my welder. So yeah, once you've done that, do the same for the other side, and then it's just a case of opening up the holes on it, and then you can offer it up to your chair and get your chair in your car. Obviously when you do come to put it in the car, you want to round off some of these edges a bit, so otherwise they're going to be a little bit sharp if you do have a crash, but they shouldn't be an issue. And that's it, it's as simple as that really. Bit long-winded, bit tricky at times of bits and pieces, but it's not too bad. Another thing you might want to do is you might wish to take the original seat clasp off,
It's held in by this bit of a seat thingy there, but the rest of the clips here, they just untwist. That one just untwists like that. That's attached onto there, so you just need to pull that off. And then once you've kept all this lot, you can still mount this to the original buckles on your seat rails. So then when you're just driving day to day, if you go into the track or whatever, you don't have to then go ahead putting your full race harnesses on. Basically, you can just still wear your standard seatbelt, because nothing security wise from the rail to that clasp has changed. So you have it, there's your belt clasp, your buckle holder part for your seatbelt. Take that off. Means you can still plug these in back into your car underneath, so all like your seatbelt warning and all that lot should still be okay. And this here, this is for your airbag. What I'm going to do is, because the whole chair is going in the bin now, I'm going to keep this plug, but I'm going to keep a section of the wire, and then when it comes to the airbag delete for the warning light on the dashboard, I'll solder the resistor into this somewhere, and then this will just be a case of clicking it back into the original plug. So I'm not making my own specific little plug to go into that, if you know what I mean. So just keep hold of what you can. Where you need it, you might as well do. Next thing for me, because my garage gets a little bit damp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some acid etch primer, just to protect this, protect the welds, make sure that they don't rust. They're not going to rust, if you know what I mean, but just stops any little bits of surface rust. So I don't know how long it's going to take between me getting these finished off. It might be an hour or so, or it could be a couple of days. Likely in my case it's going to be a couple of days, because that's it now for the weekend. I'm now back working nights, so hopefully the next little clip will be in a few days time, and I'll be able to get the other one finished, and then hopefully get the seat mounted in the car and show you it all finished. So I'll be back. What a difference it makes when you can actually see what it is you're welding. The new batches in welding helmet have helped me massively there in comparison to my other one. So I'm going to get this one sprayed up with acid etch, so then it's the same as this one. And then I'm just going to have to leave it for the time being until I can get another few hours and get a few bits finished off. Alright guys, we've moved up in the world. In terms of filming, I'm now away from my phone. I've now bought myself a GoPro, which I've been waiting weeks to turn up. So there you go, I've got a bit more wide angle on it now, so you can see a bit more of what I'm doing as opposed to being narrow view. But I can't remember where we were up to in the last little clip, but I'm pretty sure I'd just welded all this and I'd just put this primer coat on. It's now a week later. Like I said, it'll probably be a week, maybe two, maybe a couple of hours, we don't know. But the next bit I want to do is I want to get these holes opened up to 10mm, and then I'm going to cut some form of a groove in here to make up basically for when you look at the seat. If you look at the side of the seat there, you can see the handrail, the grip where your harness and stuff goes through. So you don't want the top of that metal plate clashing with that hand grip. So there'll be a section of this cut out a little bit like the, excuse the mess, a little bit like this one. So there's a little bit of a notch cut out on the top of there. The reason I'm not using this one is this is actually for a passenger seat. I did have another Corolla. I've built one of these before. I've done this for the driver's seat, but obviously that Corolla has gone to a friend. He's doing the same thing as what I am, turning it into a bit of a track car. So he's currently got one of my other bucket seats and the driver's side seat rails that I'd made. I'd built those original plates to run a pair of bucket seats in it, but it's probably not looking likely. But
then if you ever do want to have a passenger, they can all sort of ride shotgun a bit. So, so it should be quite good. But we're going to crack on with this. I'm going to drill these holes out, and then we'll cut that groove. Now, I've always seen these things, these little tapered drills. I'd never really given them any consideration. And I always thought they just look a bit like a bit of a gimmick more than anything, but they are in fact actually really quite good. It was these guys, the Bad Obsession Motorsport, that are doing Project Binky, that I saw on a few of their videos, and they seem to work really well. So I managed to pick myself up a few. They're only ones from Lidl or Aldi or wherever down that central aisle where they keep all the tools. And from there, they were a pack of three of them, maybe 2 or 3. And they were only a couple of quid each, so yeah, they're worth a try. So let's get these drilled out, and then let's stay there. Just move it a bit closer to the edge. There we go. And the joy of them as well is, I don't know if you can see there, they actually have the sizes. I can't get it in focus. What size drill you're drilling in it, so it makes it a lot easier to follow. And remember, the bolts on the seats are 8mm. They're an M8 thread, but I'm going to take these up to a 10 just so I've got a little bit of wiggle room. So I think I just went up to 8 then. So if I go up to 10. And if you go through just a little bit further, what you end up getting is a nice little D-bird hole from the neck size up. Drill trying to go through that hole, so it does a D-bird, does a drill, does a D-bird at the same time. So win-win, makes it a lot easier. Do the same with this side. I think I'm actually going into my bench there. Whee. And then once you've drilled your holes, always turn it over, because on the underside you'll have these big burrs, and just go back through the same drill, take them burrs off. Same up here, same with this one. And hopefully, now that's done, should be no burrs left. And that's it. The next thing to do is cut the profile for the seat. Right, so as you can see, I've got my seat. So the steel's pretty much already flush and touching this. So I'll just put like a little kick out in the middle of there, and then at the front edge here, where the corner of this is really digging into the seat, these aren't fully tight either yet. They're just sort of finger tight. So what I want to do here is I want to just curve off this edge slightly, put a nice big smooth radius on there, because your legs are going to be here. The last thing you want is a nice square piece of steel that could stab you if you do have a crash. You see a lot of bucket seat mounts, they're sort of like just two big turrets, like that sort of shape, but because of the way of the makeup of this, it's not exactly the same. So obviously you're doing a custom build. So yeah, I'll just mark them out, and then I'll get them cut, and then once I've done this one, I'll just do a mirror image on the other plate. You'll have to excuse me, I'm full of a cold, so I'm just getting done what I can get done. Right, I'll mark these out, and then I'll show you the next stage. Right, so basically it's all marked out. All this hashed area on the outside edge there, I'm going to cut away because it's not really required. It gives us a good, possibly an inch there, so you can maybe then, I mean you can't really see, but you could do some more holes, space them out, put another couple of holes in there, like so. So you can then move the seat lower into the frames. But the height of your seat is also relative to when you've got your seat adjuster. I think it goes that way. So when that locates into there, you need to be able to leave enough space in order for that mechanism to still work. Because if you lower your seat too much, then this is going to hit the bottom of your seat before it's had chance to disengage these teeth. So you can only lower it down so much. But the one that I did beforehand on the other car I just mentioned before, pretty much at this height, they're pretty much spot on. I did have to do one more hole just so that I can tilt the seat slightly, because the bolsters here underneath your thighs, they sort of just a little bit too high up, so it just needed dropping slightly, and it put me into a perfect seating position for myself. So there you go. If you really wanted to, if you were going to lower it any more, obviously you're not going to lower it as that much, but you could also put like a little cut out into here and bring it back up like so, and do it that way, so you've got a bit more clearance on this. But I can't imagine you'll need it. So right, you could also, instead of using one big piece of sheet steel like I've done myself, you could have made a couple of turrets just like so, like I was mentioning. So you could have done it like that, and then you would literally have just had two upright parts welded to your frame, and this section here would have been clear. Like I say, it's all down to personal preference. It just depends on how you want to do it and go ahead with. So there we go. I'm going to get those cut out, and then you can see the finished product, so to speak. And then it'll just be a case of get it sprayed and painted, and then get the seat mounted in the car. So see you soon. You need to turn it on first, you numpty. That'd help, wouldn't it, if I turned it on? Straight line cut, and then we've just got to cut that straight bit and a bit of a rad, and then the same here. We'll get on and do that. Big strap. And there we have it. Putting it all down. and then all I'm going to do now is get the angle grinder and I'll just tidy up these edges a little bit, because as you can see it's quite, even though it's a good cut, it's still a little bit rough because it's freehand. And there you have it, that should be a finished frame. And there you go, now it's been cut. It's nothing's going to clash there for the seatbelt. You're not going to get any rubbing going on with your harnesses going through there. It's all as is, really. There you go. Just need to get the same done for the other side, and then I'll get them painted up, and then we'll get them installed in the car, and you can see what they look like when they're finished. Right, so there we have it. We've got 2 new rails. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill one more hole in this side. The back side I'm not too fussed about, but the front side I want from the last set that I did, I needed the seat just dropping slightly, just so it's not sticking in the back of your thighs. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and the next thing to do, it'll just be a case of give these a quick bit of spray paint and get them loaded into the car. So there we go, nearly finished. There you go, 2 more holes put in. I'm just going to get these spray painted up now, nice gloss black just to go with the standard rails, and then we'll get them loaded in the car. There you go, there's one of them painted black, the other one's just over here behind me. Both now a nice satin black colour, ready to go in the car. Right, so as you can see, the runners are back on this is now on the bucket seat. These bucket seats of mine are ever so slightly wider than the standard seats. So as you can see, the pin on this side is actually located quite where it should be, on that orange grommet. But on this side, it's slightly pulled out. So the pin on this side, actually, it doesn't touch. It doesn't go into that slot where it should be. So as you can see from this side, it's not actually all the way through, it's only partially, just the tip of it poking through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my other rail that I use for the other car, because these bits are exactly the same, apart from mine I cut away the tips, I ground it flat, and then I drilled and tapped it for an M6 captive headed bolt, so then you can adjust the lengths of these to suit the rails as you see fit. I'll put this one into place and then you can see what I mean. Right, so now as you can see, that's in place. I've used a light now because I realised it was a little bit dull in that last picture. The captive bolt, sorry, goes all the way through. I've actually removed the orange grommet because it no longer fits with that heading, so you can actually screw these in or screw them out as required for the width of the runner then. So as you can see now, this side it actually fits as it's supposed to. Probably a little bit out if anything, but you can screw that in. You can either do it by hand or you can get an Allen key on it, and as you can see, you pull the lever up and down and the risers go up and down. Can't do it one-handed again, but just makes it that just a neat little job. That's me now, ready to fit the seat back into the car. But like I said about retaining your old nuts and stuff, just for the time being, I haven't got harnesses fitted in my car yet because I've not got the cage in. You can refit the standard seat belt mount again, so you can still reuse it. That just locates on there like that, and put the nut on and run it up. Nice and easy, quick job. So I'm just going to bolt that on there, and then I'll bolt the seat back into the car, and you can see what it looks like as a finished product. Right, the quickest and easiest way to put your seat back in is to do this is the front of the car. The pedals there, look. You've got these are your bolt holes, so obviously your bolt goes in there. There's another hole here, same on the other hole there. That peg actually locates into that hole, and the same on the back. So this makes it a lot easier to line your seat up to do. So basically you put your fronts in first, just put the bolts in loose and then do the back end. If you try and do the back end first, it just makes it a little bit awkward, so I'll just crack on with that. Right, so that's those in, just located into the little location holes. I'll just put this on its lowest setting and just run them down, just to one click, just for the time being. And the easiest way then, just grab your seat rail again, pull your seat to its furthermost position, and then it'll give you access then to your rear hole and the other rear seat mount. And it's just a case of dropping your bolts in. Get a couple of turns on them with your fingers first before you use that, and then you don't strip your threads. Same with the back one. Probably just need a little bit of jigging about. There we go. That's that one in. That's that one in. And then what you can do, slide your seat back again, make sure it all moves. Jump in, make sure it clicks into position as it should do. If it doesn't click in on both sides, you know you've got an issue, but this fits, so jobs are good. And the next thing I need to do is obviously figure out these wires. These are the looms on the car. Obviously that one's your airbag, that one's for like your seatbelt sensor and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So you've still got use of your standard seatbelt. These are the plugs that are underneath, that are actually attached to your seatbelt clip there. So one of them will be for, you know, when you drive away and your seatbelt siren on your dashboard starts beeping till you've not got your seatbelt on. But all that's in there. I don't actually know what that one was for. There was another little sensor under the seat, so if anybody knows what it was for, feel free to let me know. I don't think it's really needed. It didn't really need it on my last car. I just left these completely loose, and it didn't kick up any fuss. It just, obviously you need to do your airbag again, otherwise you'll get your airbag warning light on your dash. So there you go. Nice job to do if you've got the equipment to do it. If not, it might be worth getting like a steel fabricator to do the work for you if you supply them with the rails. The vast majority of bucket seats all have the same measurements from bolt pattern to bolt pattern. So whether you're either going off your side mounts on your seat, or some cars have like the bolt, well these seats actually have the bolts underneath as well, the bolt holes, so you can either have it side mount or base mount. It just depends on what preference you'd rather have. But the next thing on the agenda is going to be obviously the stripping out of all the back end of the car, get rid of all the old interior, and then getting the roll cage put in, and deciding whereabouts on the A pillar that it's going to come around. But obviously I don't want it to impact the seat. I don't want to be too close to the top of the seat, obviously, because your helmet might be banging against it whilst you're driving, so that's not really something that you want to do. The disc brakes that I've bought for this, which are the 305mm disc brakes off the Fiat Abarth, the Punto I got them from, all that's currently at a machine shop getting the mounts made, basically to mount the calipers to the hubs. So that's all in play at the moment. Once I get them back, I'll get some measurements for you guys, so hopefully I might even be able to get some sent away and get maybe some potential kits made up for people that want to go ahead and do the kit themselves. So yeah, that's currently where we're up to. So hopefully once I get all this carpet out, I might be able to get rid of some of this damp. As you can see, it's absolutely soaking inside this car. I've got these great big dehumidifier bags. They seem to be helping a bit because they are actually wet to the touch, but it is what it is. Hopefully once it's all the carpets and everything out, I'll be able to see where some of the leaks are and sort them out. So yeah, watch this space.
It's probably not going to be a very quick process, unfortunately, because I've got a house extension being built at the moment, hence all the bricks and roof tiles, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. So I've got a lot of shifting and lifting to do with all stuff inside the house for the time being. So unfortunately, the car's taking a bit of a back burner. But if there is any other videos of how-tos or anything like that that you want me to do in the future, just leave them in the comments, and I'll do my utmost to sort of try and suss them out for you guys. I think my next little thing to do is going to be the heater in here, because obviously, as you know, Corollas, the T-Sports, even just the standard E12s, these buttons become very sticky and hard to press. I'm going to try and sort those out, so hopefully there'll be a little fix for you guys in a few weeks time, I would imagine. So yeah, watch this space, and if you like my videos, obviously give us a like or a subscribe or whatever, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys again in the future, not so distant future at that. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed it. It's been informative. There's everything that you needed to know, and I've made it as clear and as simple as possible. I know it's a bit long-winded, a little bit sort of in-depth, but that's me. I like to do things right and make them nice and strong and solid, and hopefully they'll last. So yeah, thank you. Like I say, thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.